Welcome, everybody, to Seattle Sports Union's podcast. This is me, Abraham DeWeese. It's Ham and the Soulman, but I'm flying solo today. Just was at the local brewery called Cairn in Kenmore, Washington. Got a chance to rewatch the Seahawks versus the Broncos. Yeah, I rewatched it, and I realized it's just the first preseason game of the year. But doggone it, there was a lot of interesting storylines, and I want to get right into that if I may. First of all, I want to take a look at the backup quarterback situation where Geno Smith, a gimpy Geno Smith, was pretty heroic. Heroic's a bad word for that, but he toughed it out. He's a tough guy. He had an injury that he had to go immediately after the game to get surgery, and he knew he was injured going into this game and was able to only manage a few yards, and then okay, it's more than a few yards, but he did not look good in the brief appearance that he made. But it was definitely clear that he didn't have the velocity or the range that he normally would in a healthy situation. So what happens? Paxton Lynch, the former Denver Bronco, came in and had probably the preseason game of his life, maybe even regular season game of his life, seeing as how he wasn't that great over at Denver. Paxton Lynch had 109 yards. He had a TD pass and a rushing touchdown. He ran right through defenders, getting about 9 yards per average. He had 38 yards on the ground. So he had about he had 3 or 4 really good runs, and they turned into actual points, 14 in fact. I was impressed. The people sitting around me at Cairn were impressed. When I watched it live last Thursday, I was impressed as well. But I don't think the Seahawks are that impressed, and I think they're going to keep Geno Smith and have him see what he can give. And in fact, we just found out that former the Ohio State Buckeye quarterback JT Barnett is now in the Seahawks training camp. Last year he was a backup with New Orleans. But he kind of fits the bill as more of a Russell Wilson-ish type athlete, whereas Paxton Lynch is more of your drop back quarterback. So just because Paxton Lynch has one good game doesn't seem to mean that the Seahawks are just going to go all in with this guy as backup. So expect more of a battle. 3 more games, including one next Sunday. Well, today's Sunday, but the Sunday after this one against the Vikings. So we'll get to see Paxton Lynch, probably get to see 1 or 2 series with Russell Wilson to start, and then we're going to get a heavy dose, I think, of JT Barnett. And then the game after that, we'll probably see Geno Smith come back and see if he can turn in a better performance. Take a look at running backs. Some guy named Xavier Turner played a lot. He had 13 carries. I remember messaging Matt Page during the game asking, can we see more of guys who have a better likelihood of making this team? That'd be great. But it was very clear that they did not want to rush Carson because of his injury history. Penny was on in baseball this would be called pitch count. So Rashard Penny only got 6 carries. But the guy that I thought they were going to run some more in Bo Scarsborough, the running back out of Alabama, you might remember him. He beat the crap out of our Washington Huskies in the Peach Bowl a couple years ago. You would have thought we would have had a little more out of him. But no, Xavier Turner out of Tarleton State. I had to look that up. That's a Division II team in Texas. He was a high recruit but had academic problems, and that's a recurring theme. I'll more on that a little bit later. Nick Bellor, a longtime fullback in this league from Central Michigan, the Chippewas. He got a lot of time as well. Did not get much in the way of carries, but he caught a couple balls or had a couple targets, and he was in on a lot of special teams, a lot. Expect to see a lot of Nick Bellor challenging for that fullback position. There'll only be one, and it probably, in my opinion, looks like him. All right, moving outside to the wide receivers. We got to see DK Metcalf and see his insane size, his insane speed, and he had 4 targets, just 1 catch for 8 yards. Obviously, this is the next step up. This game is huge for DK Metcalf in getting looks. Next game will be even bigger. because over his shoulder is one Jazz Ferguson. You're asking who Jazz Ferguson is? Let me tell you who Jazz Ferguson is. Out of Northwestern State, Jazz Ferguson had the best day of any Seahawks receiver with 4 catches for 54 yards and a touchdown. He caught every single ball that was targeted at him. He outdid DK Metcalf, and shockingly to me, he outdid Gary Jennings. Gary Jennings out of West Virginia, I didn't get to see him at all. He had a couple targets, but I must have missed it. I must have blinked or something because I didn't see him catch the ball once. Jazz Ferguson, however, got to catch all 4, caught all 4 that were sent his way. And I was talking about Xavier Turner from Division II, Tarleton State. Well, Jazz Ferguson's from Northwestern State. You're asking, where in Washington State is that? It's nowhere in Washington State. That's where. It's in Louisiana. Yeah, weird they would call it Northwestern State. But, he was a former LSU Tiger, but similar to Xavier Turner, had some academic issues and had to move on down to the Sun Belt Conference. But expect him to make some waves and expect DK Metcalf not to be just handed a job. He's going to have to earn it. Same with Gary Jennings, who I'm very, very fond of. Going to the offensive line, we did get to see that George Fant get injured. I don't know why I said we get to see that. That's kind of terrible, actually. This guy was going to be the starting tight end. Yeah, I know he used to be an offensive lineman, but this guy is capable of playing tight end. He did so back in Western Kentucky, and when he wasn't playing basketball, that is. And he did really well as just a de facto third offensive tackle out there. Really, he was one of the key forces for the Seahawks having the number 1 rush offense in the NFL. But with him going down, with Will Dissly being rested, with Dixon gone, we saw a lot of backups. We saw Wes Saxton. I hadn't heard of him either. And then we saw some guy from the AAF. Do you remember that? Do you remember that for a couple of weeks? There was a conference called the AAF. Yeah, well, Terry Wright came from that professional football league that folded and was added as tight end depth. If you want a job out there, the tight end job is yours for the taking. I expected to see more of Jacobson, but it looked like he was held out as well. So maybe this first game they were just trying to prevent any more tight ends from getting injured after seeing Fant go down. Well, we did get to see the defense do some things. Maybe not on the first drive where they let up a 50-yard run. In fact, there's a lot of hype behind Cody Barton. Excuse me, but that 50-yard run by Royce Freeman, that was actually Cody Barton's assignment, but he got sealed off to the wrong side, allowing Freeman to pop loose. The rest of the game was really good for Barton, though, and we got to see a lot of blitzing. Yeah, blitzing from this defense. We hadn't seen that in the last, 7-8 years. It was a rare, if not unicorn-like appearance to see a blitz from the linebackers or DBs from the Seahawks. But we saw quite a bit of it. Got to see Michael Kendricks. He hasn't gone to jail yet for fraud or whatever it was, but we got to see him a lot, and my God, does he look good. I'm really, really hoping that he doesn't end up getting sent to jail. One of the things is he sounded pretty contrite about the whole thing, and not realizing the damage that he was doing. So I say, come on, give the guy a break. Let's let him off. He paid back all the money. Let's give Kendricks a shot, and because he looks really good, guys. Because of how well he looked, and all the hype with Cody Barton, we got to see Barkevious Mingo, former first rounder, play a defensive end position. So, you've heard of the elephant position or the Leo position, as the Seahawks call it. That's that linebacker who lines up on the defensive line as if he were a defensive lineman. That's what Barkevious Mingo is going to be doing a lot of. And I'll be darned if he didn't look really good. You got a couple of rushes. You got a couple of quarterback hits, and he got a sack for that matter. Speaking of sacks, look, Deshaun Shedd's back. That's right, former Legion of Boom pioneer Deshaun Shedd is back with the Seahawks, and he got a sack as well. Now he's going to be fighting for that nickelback position, but the former Portland State defensive back who can play safety, cornerback, anywhere you want in that backfield. He's really here for leadership and depth. So he may not get that starting nickelback position, but don't count out him not making this team because he looked really, really good. No, he didn't look good. The officials. Yeah, so now they have this thing where you can just go ahead and challenge pass interference, whether it was or it wasn't. And do you know what happened? The challenges happened and the calls weren't reversed. So the bad calls stayed bad. Big shock. There's going to be jokers out there trying to tell you, oh, you should review everything. Yeah, those people can shut up. Man, let's stop reviewing things. You know what? Dude, okay, if you want to be able to review everything, fine. You get one or maybe two in the game. No keeping these damn things because it's just going to make these games so much longer, and the refereeing isn't going to get any better because you chastise them and you call them all sorts of names. The NFL officiating is really actually pretty darn good. Just watch the Pac-12 and tell me they aren't good. All right. Well, anyway, enough about the refs. I don't care. Well, actually, I do care. There was that play where Marquise Blair hit a guy really hard and got called for helmet to helmet or whatever the heck it's called these days. Well, you know what, though? I mean, can you really blame the refs? I mean, they have to call the stupid fouls that, the competition committee comes up with. And who is this competition committee? It's coaches and owners and whatever. I mean, come on. They're wearing helmets and pads. You don't want to get laid out over the middle? Don't do a crossing pattern. That's what happens. Marquise Blair will ruin you. Cam Chancellor used to do that. Kenny Easley used to do that. Eugene Robinson, man. It's like you can't get a good safety anymore because they keep making these dumb rules. Anyway, it's a good result for the Hawks. The 22-10 win was it 22-10? Yeah, it was 22-something. It was a good win. And I realize it's just backups, and our third and fourth rounders are better than their third and fourth rounders. But you know what? That's going to mean something in the future. You know that? Like, it really will. And so I'm a big fan of taking this win and realizing that there's going to be depth here in the future. And it looks better than the depth that the Broncos have. And the Broncos, they're a pretty decent team, aren't they? Yeah, they are. So just take some solace in that. Well, I want to go a little bit across the NFL because, oh my gosh, the Seahawks are going to be playing a team called the Cleveland Browns, and all I hear is Cleveland Browns, Cleveland Browns. Isn't it great that the Cleveland Browns are, boy, everybody's saying Cleveland Browns with Cincinnati. The Bengals not looking good with a new coach, with the Steelers losing Antonio Brown and Le'Veon Bell, and with the Ravens with questionable quarterbacking. The Browns will win it all. It's a Super Bowl year for the Browns. Oh, come on, people, calm the hell down. Look, Baker Mayfield is not Joe Montana. I'm going to repeat that for you. Baker Mayfield is not Joe Montana. Now, he's not Johnny Manziel either. So there's that. He had a good rookie season. He's entering his sophomore season, it's year 2. And there's evidence to show that there's a curse for quarterbacks in season 2. Most quarterbacks don't do as well in season 2. This is a fact. Most quarterbacks. There's a couple that did really well. Dan Marino, Russell Wilson. You're talking elite quarterback. And do you think Baker Mayfield is elite? I don't think so. He's got a lot of expectation on his shoulders, and let's try to see him do this over 16 games. Then you can come back to me And if he wins the Super Bowl or something, tell me, it's Dan Marino. It's Joe Montana. Fine. Okay, fine. But come on, guys. He came in on a team with a lot of turnover and a team that wanted some hope, a team that hadn't won any games. And, he won a couple games. Big frickin' deal. Can you do that over 16 games, Baker Mayfield? Can you? Prove it. And for all you fanboys of Baker Mayfield, why don't you shut up till he puts them in the playoffs? At least in the playoffs. Come on. You got to realize defenses get better at understanding tendencies that like a quarterback, a young quarterback possesses. And after they get some film to watch and examine him and look at all his nuances and his tendencies, Tim Tebow did okay in his first year. Till people figured out, hey, he can't roll out to his left. Why don't we force him to roll out to his left? And then you know what? He sucked after that. They figured out his tendencies. Anyway, defenses are going to catch up to him, and don't pretend like the Ravens defense isn't going to catch up. And don't pretend like the Steelers won't figure him out. They'll figure him out. Come on, just a matter of time. Now, I will say this. They got some talent on this team, so he's not going to be bereft of players to go with him. The only problem is some of the talent that he's getting are major nutbags. Odell Beckham Jr. is on this team. Jarvis Landry's on this team. Kareem Hunt, after he comes back from Week 8 suspension, will be on the team. So you got basically a circus sideshow. Maybe that's what people like about this team. Maybe they enjoy the sideshow. Maybe they enjoy the carny of it all. I don't know. There's a high ceiling, but the antics that these guys are up to could lead to potential downfall, and that's something that might happen. It could happen. It's very possible it could happen. Defensively, they were okay. They have a really great player named Myles Garrett. 13.5 sacks last year, I believe out of Texas A&M. He's really solid, but they have a little bit of a leaky pass defense. As you can tell, by selecting 5 defensive backs, including Greedy Williams from LSU, that they're trying to fix it. They're trying to fix it. So we'll see how that manifests. We'll also see if they can stop the run game of the Ravens, of the Baltimore Ravens, and we'll see if they can also stop another team that's on the up and up, and that's the Bengals. I mean, they're gonna get a few wins just basically not having Marvin Lewis there anymore. So I think the Browns can make the playoffs, but don't rule out the Steelers, guys. Calm down. Ben Roethlisberger has owned that division for 14, 15 years, however many years. He's owned that division, okay? So don't get too excited about these Browns. If they win, you can get excited, but it's too early, way too early. All right, guys, I want to move to maybe some competition that the Huskies will face. Actually, the Huskies will face them, and that's the University of Southern California Trojans. Did you guys laugh like I did last year? Did you just find it hilarious that they went 5-7? Oh, they're such a mess. This is their first losing season in like 20 years. I think they had a losing season in 2000, back when the Huskies and the Cougars were dominant. Hey, seems like a recurring theme, doesn't it? Well, the last guy, Paul Hackett was his name, to finish under 500, got fired. But for some reason, USC has kept Clay Helton, the head coach. I don't get it. You think at a USC that would be the ultimate sin, but for some reason they're going to keep Helton around. For some reason they're running an air raid offense, and I don't get this. Why is USC playing an air raid offense? They had Cliff Kingsbury, who I guess is God's gift to earth, running a 5-7 record as an offensive coordinator. I don't get it. Yeah, and then they got Graham Harrell, one of Kingsbury's proteges, I guess it'd be called. But again, he's going to run the air raid as well, and I don't get it. I mean, right now they got to figure out who their quarterback is between JT Daniels and Jack Sears, and they seem hell-bent on going with JT Daniels, the air raid quarterback, but Jack Sears seems like he's the better player. Oh well. I mean, they got great wide receivers. I mean, they got probably 5 stars across the entire offense. Amon-Ra St. Brown, this guy is amazing, and it has a cool name, Amon-Ra St. Brown. What a great name. They also got Michael Pittman Jr. and Tyler Vaughn. Those guys are I think 4 stars, and Amon-Ra St. Brown was a 5-star. These guys are just immensely talented and just better than any receivers in the league. But you gotta get them the ball. And when you run this air raid offense, you think that they would get it more. Yeah, JT Daniels just doesn't do it for me. I think they should give Sears the backup a try. Well, it wouldn't be USC without a running game. I mean, they got great running backs, by the way. Vivek, oh boy, what's his name? Vivek Malapai, I believe that's his name, and Stephen Carr. I mean, these are standard, typical USC running backs. They're really good, but in the air raid offense, they're never going to use them. So I don't know what the Trojans are thinking. Without a run game or a focus on using that offensive line that they have, the size of their offensive line, they're going to have trouble winning some games. On the other side of the ball, Trojans led 2 years ago. They led the league, or no, I think might have been the entire NCAA in sacks. I think they led the NCAA in sacks. But last year they were down towards the bottom. I think they were like 50th or 60th, somewhere in that range, and just not as good. Part of that's losing Rasheem Green to the Seahawks, as well as some other guys, and just not replacing them properly. Another problem too, I get back to this air raid offense. You get your defense tired by constantly running your defense out there, not getting any kind of time of possession. It's insane. You got superior talent. You don't need to be doing these gimmicks, USC. Oh well, it's USC. Who cares? I don't care. Secondary, not only do they not get sacks, their secondary is constantly gassed. They don't have anybody coming back worth note. They got a bunch of freshmen and walk-ons. And I was reading in an article where in spring practice, they had to use, as I said, freshmen and second team and walk-ons to fill out their defensive backfield. And it makes you wonder, what is Clay Helton doing as far as recruiting? What is he doing? I don't know. It doesn't seem to be much. Star player is Pele Gautete, the fourth. Man, I'm killing his name. Pele is his first name. His last name is spelled Gaoteote, and I heard it pronounced, and it's a tongue twister, and I'm not doing a good job. But he's a punishing 250-pound linebacker who covers a lot of ground. Expect him in the NFL. Sorry for coughing right in the microphone. I hit myself with it, and got to get myself a cup of water here. So my excusey. I got to wrap this up because I got to get myself a cup of water because my throat's a little scratchy. Anyway, to wrap up the USC, I just want to say, like, they're facing Oregon and Washington because remember last couple of years they ducked our teams. Get it, Matt Page, if you're listening out there. They ducked Oregon. Yeah, it's not that funny, and your team's not that funny either. They're actually a decent team. UW, though, they were missing out, UW on the schedule, and those are the 2 favorites in the Northern Division. They got to play Utah, and they have to play Stanford too. 2 more good teams and favorites as well. And they have a road trip to BYU and Notre Dame. I don't know. I don't see them going any better than 3-3 against those 6 teams. Boy, I think your ceiling for this team might be 9 wins. That might be it. 9 wins might be it. And I think that's what I'm going to stick with. Well, guys, I got to get running here because, again, I need that get that frog out of my throat. And just want to bid you adieu. But I do want to say I just read the news where Edgar Martinez will be getting a statue at Safeco Field. Finally, the Mariners did something right this year. Thank you, Mariners. All right, everybody. I'm going to hit you up next time with our podcast. Hopefully back with Soulman. Abraham. Have a great night, everybody.